So there's that, and then there's, putting quality of life at the center.
Yeah,
We
right.
as educators, as behavior analysts, we're always taught long-term, like, plan for life beyond, plan, transition planning, plan for adulthood, plan but our learners also deserve a quality of life today. They're children or young adults, humans having a daily life, like, we have to think about that every day too.
Right. The
And
payoff for
so
everything can't be 20 years down the road. Like, not
no.
motivating for a lot of people.
And not only for the individuals we serve, but for the people doing the hard work.
That's right, that's right.
Like, you gotta be happy, and they deserve to be around people who are happy being around them.
Mhm. Right. So, let's talk about functional life skills because I feel like functional life skills are an important part of these development, right? Like, would you relate those 2?
Yeah, I
'Cause
mean,
'cause I don't know if you would use those terms interchangeably, but when I think of learning, yes, like, there's the schema that you're trying to learn or whatever, but it seems like often you're just trying to learn some essential piece, and functional life skills are an important piece for everyone.
I don't think you can untangle life
No.
skills from
No.
learning.
So what
Yeah.
are functional life skills? What are some examples of
Uh,
them?
y Great question, big question. I also want to address, I think the word functional, is loaded. I think it's a great word, but it can turn some people off right from the beginning. Meaningful, right? What are meaningful life skills that if you couldn't do for yourself, someone would have to do for you, which would limit your independence, which would limit your access to the community. Um, Meaningful in terms of they are skills that you will use in your everyday environment. So this family that wrote to you, they're meaningful, they maintain because they're used in the environment the family has created. So they maintain. You're not going to a gym separately that you're dependent on someone else bringing you to move, and it only goes with that gym. It's meaningful because it's part of your daily life. Now, obviously, your culture, your community, your family is part of figuring out what your daily life looks like, right? As a family, do you eat together? Do you go for walks together? Do you garden? Do you not? Like, do you go to the gym together as a family? Maybe I mean, I've worked with families where that is meaningful. It's a bonding experience.
Is it also meaningful because the overlap of it moving the child, but it also helping the parents maintain their physicality to be able to continue to care for the child well? Like, in psychological flexibility, we would say that that adds meaning beyond just, um, it's taking care of one person's needs. It's also making it so that I'm a better caretaker. Like, there's a bigger meaning to staying active in the design of the home.
Yeah, and I think, when we talk about independence, for example, I mean, that's also an interesting term to unpack because no one like, the goal isn't really for anybody to live independently in isolation forever. How do we live together? Yeah, what can you do for yourself? So, as I'm an aging caregiver, I don't have to do for you. What can you do for yourself so, your safety is preserved, so you're not at greater risk for abuse? Um, so that you can be safe and access the community, whether it's for recreation or running errands. So when you open it up like that, and life skills in terms of, maybe not everybody can have a 9 to 5 job, but everybody can contribute to their community, whether it's a part-time job or volunteering. Um, and those, I would consider those life skills, creating connections with your communities, so it's not just washing hands and brushing your teeth, although those are also very important.
That's right, that's right.
Yeah.
Well, how did movement, you're on the Move Your DNA podcast. How or when did movement come into your education paradigm for this population?
Two main points kind of stand out that kind of all happen. I mean, number one, health and wellness um, is not just important to everybody, but extra important for our population. There's often multiple diagnoses, Often just general health and wellness things like pronated feet and dental issues and scoliosis, things like that, don't get caught until they're really bad because you're working with a population that doesn't move their body naturally in the same way where you might pick up on differences. Like my own daughter was having some early plantar fasciitis on basketball. She joined a competitive basketball team, and, like, immediately, it's like, "You're walking differently. What's going on? Like, let's have a conversation about it." You're working with a population that can't do that, and parents and caregivers has become aversive for them to get into these appointments. It's hard, right? And so you often don't catch things until they're almost an emergency. So what small things could you be doing along the way? A to, obviously like access appointments, but preventative, move better, um, so that you're not, 30 and unable to bend over. I work with a young adult who, through our programming, has they live on a farm, and we've built a lot of great goals around gardening. And he had some health issues and couldn't garden for a couple months. And like that was super sad to see that he couldn't do something that brings him joy because he couldn't move well, right? So that the health and wellness aspect of like what can they access in their world, because they can move better and, prevent some things that should be preventable, right? So that and then, um, the concept of stacking has been hugely influential, with a population that, like, it can be hard to get them to try new things or do new things or move, but they need a lot of repetition to gain new skills. Nobody wants to do that over and over in a boring way when they don't feel successful. And so we were starting to early on in figuring out how do we teach functional life skills in a fun, engaging way for both staff and learners. What does it look like? How do we repeat it without, um, for it being joyful for everybody involved? So we were already kind of starting to figure out, like, okay, we're going to do multiple things at the same time in an event that we can repeat. And then I went camping, out of service and brought Movement Matters and read your essay on stacking. And I was like, oh my God, yes. This is how I describe it to my staff. Like, this is what we're trying to do. Take something meaningful, put the things you're trying to accomplish so that it's easy.
Well, you've got a course. We'll talk about the course closer to the end of our interview, but there's 2 quotes that I just wanted to read back to you that I love. So one was orientation by organizing instruction around meaningful, naturally occurring events rather than isolated skills or academic sequences. So I imagine teachers, educators, even therapists, this sentence will they'll understand what you're saying in this quote, but also parents too. Like, I don't think you have to necessarily be an official educator. Just this concept of what is the difference between teasing out a skill and teaching it in isolation. So, just for my own audience's sake, I got a question in our virtual studio Q&A the other day about a daughter who just was more clumsy, had, unstable ankles, walked in a different way, and just didn't walk as enthusiastically as maybe other siblings. And the question is, what do I do? And I think that isolated skill is, oh, I see you have wobbly ankles. Let's do ankle stabilizing exercises. We'll get the protocol. You'll get the appointment, and that you're going to go to the appointment to treat your wobbly ankles. And you're 10, and you're like, this sucks. Like and I don't want to do it. It's an adult centric. There's no play involved. It's
For the child, there's no purpose embedded in why would I
that's
do
right, and it's not
this?
meaningful because it's just like, why do I need to okay, wobbly ankles are the end goal. In 20 years, I want non-wobbly ankles. Where I was like, what kids really want is, challenges and fun. So why don't you all on your next walk hop on the wall that seems a little precarious to walk on, and or put a couple 2 by 4s on some yoga blocks in your living room, and just like it's a family challenge now, or it just lives there and now it's this uh, fun thing to conquer yourself physically a little bit. Oh, I want to follow up. What is this all about? There's a curiosity, and there's that feeling of play and that natural dopamine response of I tried this and I failed, but then I got better, and that there was a reward for doing it. And now make it harder. Put it on something wobbly. Make it higher. So that's what we mean by the difference of something isolated or academic or therapeutic, I would say, and then it integrated, and that's what we mean by stacking is can you set up an environment where you get the desired outcome, more stable ankles, if you will, or basically being more comfortable in or capable in your body, in something that doesn't look like an isolated exercise just for that purpose that has very little motivation or meaning to the person having to do it, and maybe over time, the person giving it. That
Well, and what yeah, what we're seeing, you're seeing students, whether they're 5 or 20, any range in between, right, where they're crying and ripping up worksheets or they don't wanna engage in their education, right? To if you it's a little I mean, the special education world, it takes a little more, I think creativity because, you may not be able to explain or describe something. You have to do we have people that most of the time learn from experiencing something. But if you take, let's say somebody, it is their goal, it's going to help make their life now what is meaningful for one learner is not meaningful
right.
for another. I mean, that's
It's all
what we're
individual.
tasked with, right?
Yeah.
But let's say for one learner it is meaningful to, recognize numbers and measure things. Well, but they're crying and they can only attend for 2 minutes when you're measuring, straws over and over on a table. But if you say, "Hey, let's walk out to the garden and hold our measuring tape and let's measure how tall our flowers are and what number is that?" Um, no, maybe they don't get it like the first time and it's hard, but if you repeat it over and over and maybe you start a chart and they all of a sudden, after being exposed to the garden, they really love flowers and being outside and picking up sticks and throwing them in between because, there's these all these natural breaks when you have kind of a meaningful repeated activity, and then all of a sudden you're not asking them to measure 10 things in a row, which is unnatural, but over the week you measure the flowers 10 times, so you get repetition over the week, and maybe you have pictures you're able to print off and they can bring their parent in and show them the pictures, and all of a sudden you're getting all these social goals, communication goals, movement goals, hold things. That is a huge movement goal for our population. Hold stuff for longer so that you can be included in things. You can hold stuff and bring stuff with me to the garden, and then over time they see this cycle of other people are excited about this too, and maybe my teacher really loves the flowers and the flower pictures because she's a gardener, but I really like being outside and cutting the grass with scissors on the side for my break. Cool. Um, and then all of a sudden you get kids that are engaging in the same goals over time, and if it's slower, that's okay. That's their pace. Um, and they're happy, and they're in the environment that, I always wish that everybody would be connected with the garden all the time, forever and ever, always,
That's right.
but if but a lot of adult living communities have gardens kind of for all these reasons. So if you're programming something into an environment that will always be in their life, like that skill would have a purpose to maintain. I mean, same thing with, like, daily living skills of, like, sweeping and wiping up tables, like, no one wants to wipe a table because 'cause they're told to, but if you plant seeds inside and the table gets all dirty, and then you're gonna eat snack there, there's a purpose to cleaning it up, and there's less whining and complaining, and let's clean it up so we can eat your favorite food, and your dishes are on the low shelf, so let's squat every day to get your dishes, and you want to squat now.
No, as opposed to squats are good for us, so let's do some squat exercises, which have no context or meaning, but yeah, this is
Right, give
from
them their
dynamic.
purpose that they
That's
can
right.
see
Who
and
doesn't want
repeat
a
it over
snack?
time.
That's right. Snacks are
Right,
so
and
motivating.
and repeat it over time, and then you get students that walk over to the dish shelf and squat down and get their dish, and you're like, "Sweet, let's have a snack."